welcome to the Pop Council Podcast, the show where we cover everything in pop culture. Each week, on this show, we'll discuss topics in the geek world as various fandoms such as Disney, Marvel, Star Wars, theme parks, and everything in between. I'm Jami, Philbrick, entertainment journalist and critic for We Live Entertainment and board member of the Hollywood Critics Association. Today, we have a great show, and we will be discussing the new Eternals trailer that dropped this morning. Henry Cavill starring in the Highlander remake, Batgirl HBO Movie Directors, DC animation news, Star Wars Bad Batch Episode 4 spoiler review, and so much more. As always, I am joined this week by my co-host, Wendy Lee Szany. Hi, Wendy.
Hello. How are you, Jami?
I'm doing good. Happy Monday. How was your weekend?
It was fantastic. Got a lot done. Woke up with a nice surprise this morning from Marvel. I love that.
Yes. We can always expect Mondays to have a nice, some kind of news drops, and we always like to cover it right away. As always, we've got a great guest this week. I'd like to introduce HCA member. You know her from the Hashtag Show and Fanversation. Welcome, Yael Tygiel. Hi, Yael.
Hello.
Woo!
Hi.
Yeah.
How are you
Happy
doing?
Monday.
Oh, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, of course, we're excited to have you. For everyone that doesn't know you or just being introduced to you now, tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm a big nerd, if you haven't noticed. I host a couple things over at that Hashtag Show, including Have You Tried Not Being a Podcast, which is a queer pop culture show. And I also do a Super Lady Hero Hour, which is a superhero show where it's just women talking about all the DC TV stuff. And you can also find me talking about the greatest show of all time, Law & Order Special Victims Unit, over on, thank you, Law & Order S Review over on Fanversation.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. We're super nerds here too, so I think you're going to fit in just fine. We've got so much to talk about today. Let's start with the news that just dropped this morning. Wendy mentioned it. Of course, we got our first look at the poster and teaser trailer for Eternals, which is opening, of course, this is the big MCU movie that's opening in November, directed by Academy Award winner Chloe Zhao. The cast is incredible. Everyone from, as we see here, Richard Madsen and Jet Chang and Angelina Jolie in the corner. And of course, Selma Hayek is in the movie as well, and Kit Harington. Let me just open it up. We all got a chance to see it. It really is truly a teaser trailer. I think it gives a good sort of look at what this world's going to look like, the characters, the players, the actors, some of the powers, the costumes. And of course, there was a little should we say Easter egg about Tony Stark and the Avengers and Steve Rogers at the end. So, Wendy, let me start with you. What did you think about this teaser?
Stunning, first of all. Visually stunning. So I have not read too much about the Eternals, even since they've released this title announcement from forever ago. It feels like I was like, oh, what's that about? And I always like that when comic book movies start to venture away from the less, for the general audience knowledge, like the less well-known characters. And I think this is definitely one that I'm going to be keeping my eyes on, not just for the cast alone, but this is by, Academy Award winner director Chloe Zhao. So I mean, she was already attached to this prior to winning this Oscar. So I think Marvel and Disney recognize the talent, her visionary ideas, and they're like, yes, she is going to be the right person for this movie. And I can't wait, because how do you put so many amazing actors into one film? And my thing too with this trailer and this movie is, this is, again, we haven't heard of them within the MCU yet. So what is this movie? How is this movie going to introduce them to us and fit it within that nice window of 2 hours plus? Maybe, I'm thinking, because not everybody's going to go pick up a comic book before seeing those, let me study before this film. Not many people do that. You get extra credit if you do, I think. But so this trailer, while it didn't give us too much of exactly who each character is, it did give us a basic plot line of how the Eternals being in the title, how long they've been around, all the way to the end of the trailer and seeing them move forward through time, going, well, that's interesting because I want to know where they were and what their thoughts were on Thanos when he was snapping away half the population. Was that what made them interfere? I don't know. Your thoughts?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that's one of the things that we're going to find out with this movie. I will say that I did read The Eternals. I know I read it probably 10 or 15 years ago. I read the graphic novel that Neil Gaiman wrote. There was sort of kind of a reboot, if you will, of the original Jack Kirby stuff. I have a feeling that that's probably what they're using as a bit of a blueprint for this. Even that being said, like, I don't remember. You know, like, I know I've read this comic and I don't really remember all the characters or all of, or like what the main plot would be. So, but I do think they might be taking sort of an Inhumans route, like kind of what they were originally going to do with Inhumans. And then that got messed up in the TV end. But this idea of the Eternals always being there on Earth, and maybe there was some creed why they couldn't, you know, interfere with man, and then as you said, Wendy, maybe Thanos changed a lot of things, and it would be interesting to see like were any Eternals blipped away and then blipped back. So these are all interesting questions. But Yael, let me pass it on to you and get your reaction.
Yeah, I also am coming into this blind, but I've been coming into most of the Marvel stuff with very, very little knowledge, and this one I'm completely no knowledge. And, you know, like Wendy said, it was a stunning teaser. It's going to be beautiful. This is something that this is one of the few things that I was like, hold this for the big screen. This is something we want to see in theaters. A lot of other things that came out, I was like, no, we didn't need to wait. We could have watched this at home. So this one is one that I'm very, very excited to see on the big screen. And it is an amazing cast. Like, the idea that you've taken not just an Oscar-winning director, but Oscar winners and put them into a superhero movie, which, you know, in essentially the film world, there's a whole lot of discussion about, is a superhero movie, you know, cinematic? Is it film? And this really is like, yeah, look at what we're doing. And I'm so excited to see it. It's going to be something. And your questions about the blip and Thanos, all great questions. And I definitely do see that connection, that it does kind of feel like the Inhumans. And I think we should just forget that show happened.
Yes.
Just wipe it from our memory and start fresh.
I agree. It's unfortunate, and we've talked about this before on the show with like Ryan Reynolds' Green Lantern. It's unfortunate when, you know, they make a movie with a character, it doesn't work, and then that character, you know, is sort of out and we can't use them again. So, because the Inhumans are great characters, but yeah, they messed that one up. So we're glad that we're getting a redo with this one. I agree. I mean, the shots are gorgeous. Like, it just looks amazing. One criticism I have heard just sort of scrolling the internet today after it dropped was the idea that, you know, this is a brand new property to so many people, and Marvel kind of did the same thing with Guardians. You know, a lot of people did not know Guardians or the characters or the players when that was being released, but the trailers did do a better job of maybe introducing each character and kind of giving you an idea of what this movie is really going to be about. Because even at this point, I don't know what it's going to be about. I don't know who the villains are. I don't really know. And as I mentioned, I've read the source material. So yeah, let me bounce it back to you and then we'll go to Wendy. Like, are you concerned at all that maybe this teaser isn't enough sort of explanation to get people excited, or is just the visuals, the characters, the costumes, and the MCU brand more than enough?
I think those are great questions. I think if we were 10 years ago, then it wouldn't have been enough. But at this point, they've essentially proven, we're going to give you someone you've never heard of. You're going to love it. And even if you don't love it, you're going to enjoy the ride. Like, even the bad movies are enjoyable. Right. So I think that is a way that they've set us up, that we're going to trust them. Also, this is a teaser. Like, this is not even a trailer. In my mind, based on this teaser, the villain is humanity. I've decided that's what it is. There's no reason, but that's what it looked like. The villain is going to be us. And I'm fascinated to see if I'm right. I think, you know, it's November that this movie's coming out. We have plenty of time. They will release plenty of actual trailers. They will introduce the characters. I don't know that I need the way that the Guardians introduced the characters in their trailers, because we're going to love this. It's beautiful. It's superheroes. We're going to watch it. We're going to love it.
Right. Yeah, Wendy, your thoughts on sort of this introduction through the teaser.
Yeah, I thought that, for kind of to echo Yael's thoughts, if it was 10 years ago and we hadn't seen the MCU build up to the way it is today, people would be like, you know what? It looks cool. Love the cast in this. I'm just not interested. But now we've built this entire universe. There's arcs, there's stories. We're on phase 4 of Marvel, and this is going to be the 3rd film that's released in this phase. People are now invested. And I'm not saying like, oh, fans will come and show up for any Marvel. Like, yes, some of them will, but they still want to, when they put their money towards this, they still want to be treated to something fantastic and epic. And so, we look at the director, we look at the actors. And then I think the best part about this trailer is that little button they put on the end scene there. And that, if the rest of the trailer didn't get you, that's going to be it, because they dropped that, the name drop for Steve Rogers and for Iron Man. And who's going to lead the Avengers now? Because that got I was invested, but I perked up and I was like, oh, who now? And there was a really funny comment this morning on my reaction / review video for this trailer saying, no, Rob Stark, we remember what happened the last time you led an army into the Red Wedding. And I'm like, oh, don't bring it back. It was so sad.
I love callbacks from other franchises. That's fantastic.
2 Game of Thrones actors in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
both
right.
Starks.
Yeah, interesting.
And is Cersei not in a thing with them?
Say that again?
Is Cersei as in Gemma Chan's character?
Right.
You see her with, I was going to call him Rob Stark, Richard Madden, who's playing Icarus. I think it's how you say the name. But then
correct.
later we see her with
right here.
Yes, like the eternal lover, so cute. But then in a later scene, we see her standing next to Dane, right? Kit Harington's character.
Yes.
So I wonder if there's like a love thing there.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. Yeah, could be. I like what you said about, because without that sort of end moment talking about the Avengers, you wouldn't necessarily know if you didn't know that this is an MCU movie. That was, and so I feel like that was the big sort of, boom, like this is MCU. We're brand, the big MCU brand. And I agree. I think it does go a long way these days. So I think people are excited about this. It looks fantastic. I'm ready for some new characters and to see how they're integrated into the MCU. And I like the idea about the humans being the bad guys. That makes a lot of sense.
It it made me think of it because, in Wonder Woman, like she's trying to fight Ares, and the issue isn't Ares, it's humanity.
Right. And we have Sword introduced now. So maybe, we haven't heard anything about that, about them being in the movie, but they might make good villains. Wendy, go ahead.
Sorry, you just said Sword and it just piqued my memory. Do we not remember Jenna Chen playing Minerva?
That's a great point. Kevin Feige's talked about that. And I think what's really interesting about that is the idea, because it's a completely different character, and I think Feige's idea is that she was so buried in makeup in Captain Marvel that she could play a different character. And I love this idea because it opens up the idea that maybe Dave Bautista could do something different in the MCU. Maybe characters who have been just the voices in MCU, like Bradley Cooper or Vin Diesel, could actually be physical roles at some point. So I and I love Gemma. I mean, she's a fantastic actress. So I think, every time I see her final scene in Crazy Rich Asians, like there's just a tear. I'm like, oh, so she's so
that
great.
Second movie so bad.
So but that's a very good point, and I hope that this begins a trend of actors that maybe have somewhat limited MCU roles, giving an opportunity to have different MCU roles, because when you're covered in all that makeup, it's like who knows the difference.
Right.
So well, that's awesome. Let's move on to actually something not Marvel, not Star Wars, not DC. I am so excited for this news. I can't even tell you guys what a huge Highlander nerd I am. There has been talks of a Highlander remake for decades, really. I remember Clive Owen being attached maybe 15 or more years ago, and never really happened. But now this past week, we got the news that Henry Cavill, here he is in The Witcher. He could look something like this when we see him as Connor McLeod in a actual remake, not a reboot as far as I understand at this point, a remake of Highlander. For Highlander fans, of course, that means he'll also play the Russell Nash character, which is the identity Connor has in the present day. So I just want to give a couple of ideas I have. Oop, that popped back up. A couple of thoughts about this. As a huge Highlander fan, I love this news. I think Henry Cavill is awesome, right? Like, we all love Henry Cavill, so I'm so excited for him to be cast in this role. He does look a little bit more like Adrian Paul, who played Duncan MacLeod on the TV series, than he looks like Christopher Lambert, who played Connor in the movies franchise. But I don't care. It's still Henry Cavill's. I think he's going to look great, as we saw in The Witcher, in that sort of medieval stuff. The only other thing is that I hope that they spend a good amount of time in the present day with the Russell Nash character, because that was what sort of attracted me to the character when I first saw the movie. While obviously we need the origin, we need to go back. It's called Highlander. We need to go back to Scotland. I don't want the movie to be bogged down. I felt like the original was sort of bogged down by all of that flashback. And there wasn't a lot of flashback. I mean, this guy is an immortal, and I would have loved to see in the original more of his journey through time. I think there was one scene like in the Elizabethan age and maybe one little flashback to World War II, but I would have liked to see more of that. And so maybe in this new film, which is being directed by the director, Chad from the John Wick films.
Chad Stahelski.
Chad Stahelski. So, you know, I hope that they incorporate a little bit more of the immortal part of Highlander into this, and somehow explain, because of course we know this is going to set up sequels, you know, that there can't only be one, because there's going to be only one in the next one and only one in that. So, and there's such a convoluted, Highlander fans know the sequel that they made, The Quickening, then like retcons all the characters as aliens and not immortal. It's just bunch of nonsense that happened later in the films. So I hope that they really are able to set up a great new mythology based on the original for this new film. Let me pass it on to Wendy. Are you a Highlander fan? I know you're a Henry Cavill fan. Does this news excite you as much as it excites me? How are you feeling about it?
I feel like it's been forever ago since I've seen Highlander. Like, I was really, really little, so I might have to revisit. But I do remember kind of the aesthetic of it all, and the whole, like, there can be one, obviously, the sword and everything. I think as much as I am a Henry Cavill fan, if he had been signed on to this prior to The Witcher, I would have been like, oh, I don't know. I think I would have still been in, because I am a fan. I want to, you know, see an actor approach different type of films and different type of looks, right? Just because like you play Clark Kent / superhero once, like that's the only role you can play. Like, it's definitely not, that's not what being an actor is about. So with that said, having watched him play the lead in The Witcher, and aesthetic and fighting and acting, everything, I was like, you know what? I think this is actually almost perfect casting. I think the stature, the attitude, and Henry Cavill's work ethic and dedication, combined with the director's kind of past projects. You know, he's done a lot of John Wick stuff, so I figure the stunts in this is going to look really, really epic. So I'm excited for this. I'm really excited.
Yeah, absolutely. Yael, how do you feel? Are you a Highlander fan? More of a Henry Cavill fan? Like, does this mean anything to you, this news? Are you excited about it? How do you feel?
I like the idea of taking something that I know that I'm going to say my generation and everyone younger than me probably didn't see. Probably went, oh, that's an old movie. That's what adults watch, and I'm not interested. I like that. I think I'm a child. But I'm excited. I like Henry Cavill. I think he's super talented. So the idea that they're taking this movie and they are rebooting it, and that there are going to be tons of kids who are going to be like, I've never heard of this. This is a brand new concept. And that's going to be really interesting. And I'm excited that's what I think. I think if we're going to reboot stuff, because that seems to be a thing we keep doing, let's reboot stuff that generations haven't seen, that are going to be fresh and new. And I think that this is going to be great. And I think what Wendy said about seeing him in The Witcher, and
Yes.
it's kind of, proof of concept. I think it's going to be really fun. I'm excited to explore this and see where it goes. And I do like the idea of starting a new franchise that isn't Marvel or DC or Star Wars. Like, I think that's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're totally right. Like, starting a new franchise, like if this is really big, and that would be awesome. And also, as far as remakes, what you were saying, I really agree with too, because let's remember, I mean, this is a cult classic, but by no stretch of the imagination was the original. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we're not remaking Saving Private Ryan. We're remaking the Highlander, and so I think it's actually a really great choice as far as things to remake. I feel like a lot of times in fact, not to touch on other news, but there was a drop this morning that they're going to do another Willy Wonka with Chalamet. And that was exactly my reaction, Wendy. I mean, do we need another Willy Wonka? I mean, the first Willy Wonka, Gene Wilder, come on. So, not to get too much in the weeds on that. It just is another example of, like, no one is going to be upset if they remake the Highlander, it doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a really great point, is that we recently remade Willy Wonka. Like, had we not,
we just did it.
Had we not done that, maybe now would be a good time.
But I will say, I am a fan of Timothée Chalamet's acting. And I'm assuming this is young Wonka before he gets the candy.
It's prequel Wonka.
It's the Cruella Wonka.
Can he sing like Gene Wilder? Probably can. That kid is really talented.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, not to get too much on another subject, but just in the idea of sort of, the remakes that you want to remake, you want to choose something that, Ocean's 11 is a good example. I mean, say what you will about the Clooney movies. They're better than, the original Rat Pack movie is not a very good movie. And so they took an idea and were able to run with it for 3 or 4 films. So, that, I think that kind of thing really works. Well, we have another film news to talk about. This one also extremely interesting. Batgirl. There we go. There she is, Barbara Gordon. This week, announcement that not only have they found the directors for the Batgirl movie that's been rumored for some time, and I apologize to directors if I butcher their names, but here we go. Adil Arbi and Bilall Fallah, who directed Bad Boys 3, which was shockingly very, very good. And so the idea of these directors, I think, is great. Christina Hodson, who wrote Birds of Prey, wrote this script. Also very interesting is that it was announced that it's going to be an HBO Max movie. Now, I don't know exactly how much we should read into that, if that's completely correct, but that would be the first direct to HBO Max DC film. Obviously, they're going to do TV series, but this would be the first film. So let me open it up. I'll go to you, Yael. But also I want to mention one other thing, which is the idea that Warner Brothers decided to go with 2 male directors seems a little tone deaf to me, seeing that this is Barbara Gordon's story. I would have thought a female director would have been a better choice. Of course, the script is written by a woman, so you would think that voice is in there. Very good directors, but interesting choice by Warner Brothers. Yael, what do you think?
I'm really excited to see this. My, knowledge of Batgirl is pretty limited to the Harley Quinn animated series. So I like that. I'm excited to see that in live action. I'm not as familiar with these directors, but as you said, it is being written by a woman. I also would love to believe that whoever they cast will have a voice and will be able to speak up as needed. And I think that, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be good. Also, not to naysay, but things change a lot and it could change. That could change. The director could change. That seems to happen a lot.
That's a very good point. You're absolutely right about that. Wendy, what were your immediate thoughts?
My immediate thoughts was, wow, with these 2 directors signing on to this project, Batgirl is about to be super action packed.
Mm-hmm.
If it's, if the Bad Boys for Life gave us any hint to kind of their style when it comes to action and their take. I think Batgirl deserves to be an action-packed movie. I do find it also really interesting that it is a straight to HBO film instead of maybe them trying to do that, same date release. But I'm guessing this is not even going to come out for until 2022 because if they've just signed on the director, they haven't started at all. We haven't heard about casting, right?
No, nothing. I would even say maybe 23. I mean, who
wow. Who knows? Yeah. So we've got a while. I am happy with the Christina Hodson, who is being the writer, because I did enjoy Birds of Prey a lot. So I think having her voice on this project is really important. I hear what you're saying about the lack of female director here, but I'm hoping that within the writer room and maybe producers, executive producers that come in, it's an all over team effort. So they'll have, input from both female creators and male creators, and that they're maybe just bringing on these two directors because they have a great vision for what maybe they're fans of Batgirl, and they're like, no, we love her. We are fans, and we have a vision of what we can take this. And then they kind of talked it out, and it was agreed upon by everybody. So we'll see. I wouldn't have mind to see like Margot Robbie try her hand at directing.
Yes.
A lot of DC brands, and she's all in on Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, all of that stuff. But I really wouldn't be surprised later on down the line if more things were announced that her name's attached one way or another.
And Olivia Wilde would have been a great choice as a director. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to, I really liked the Bad Boys movie, so I don't want to say anything bad about these guys. I think they are really accomplished directors. More from
now. Sorry, I just thought that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No. Absolutely.
Would have been fantastic. Sorry.
Right, and she is working on Zatanna. They've said that she's going to do Zatanna, or at least write Zatanna. So I just think from a, sort of a publicity standpoint, it's just a weird choice for Warner Brothers. It just, you know what I mean? It just seemed like, it's a bit of an odd choice, but obviously they must really, believe in these guys, and everyone on board is on board with it. So, let me ask you about the HBO Max component of it. I was very surprised to hear that this is going to be an HBO Max movie and not theatrical.
Yeah, no, I agree. That is very surprising. I assume that it will be in theaters at some point. I mean, aren't the rules of the awards, it has to be in theaters to be nominated? Right. So I feel like this is a misdirect. I feel like it will definitely be in theaters.
Interesting. Yeah, because it does. I mean, the way I read it, it made me think that it's essentially a TV movie and not a theatrical. It's not even like it's going to go on theatrical and HBO Max day and day or anything like that. It was just like for HBO Max, but a movie, and they didn't say series. So, yeah, Wendy, what are your thoughts on that?
I really find that interesting. I would feel like, when Batgirl finally gets her movie, that it would get a theatrical release. So, but in the article that I'm reading from the Hollywood Reporter, they're saying that it's being planned as a movie so plans change, as Yael earlier said, things change in this industry very quickly, all day, every day. So I'm betting it's still on the table for it to have a theatrical release, but it's not concrete. So, they want, until the details are nailed in, I think they're just going to say, HBO Max. And maybe this is also another way. We know that they've been trying to gain more subscribers on the streaming platform. This is a great way to advertise that. It's like, you don't have HBO Max? Well, you better get it before Batgirl comes out so you can watch it.
Right.
So I think that's probably another one of the motivations behind it. I think, though, by the time we actually do see this film out, maybe I'm wrong, but I think they'll actually change it to a theatrical release and then an HBO Max, unless they want to start doing, how like Netflix has like Netflix originals and Hulu has those. Maybe that's something they want to start, and they have, the DC banner that they can work with. So it's possible that they'll start developing little HBO Max films that's, under the DC brand.
Yeah, I agree. It could absolutely go either way. Real quick, I wanted to ask both of you, and I actually don't have an answer myself, so maybe you guys will have a good answer. Casting. Who would you like to see as Barbara Gordon, Yael?
Oh, that's so hard.
How old was she?
I know, right?
How old was she?
Let's say early 20s.
I'm gonna go with Kat McNamara. It's the
Oh.
first. She's the first one who came to mind.
Yeah.
You probably know her from Shadowhunters. She was on Arrow in the
Arrow.
last season.
Yeah.
She is not only the sweetest person, but also is really badass with her fights. She like trains and does really well. And I think that she would be able to play this character in that 20s something range. So, yep, off the top of my head without thinking, Kat McNamara.
Yeah. Wendy, what about you? That's a great choice. I'm an Arrow fan,
really
so Kate McNamara. Yeah, I know her.
Fantastic. I got two choices. They're very opposite of each other. One, I don't know if you guys have watched Shadow and Bone, but Daisy Head.
Yeah, she's very good.
She plays Jenya in Shadow and Bone. And my other choice would be Anya Taylor-Joy.
Anna Taylor-Joy is a pretty good choice. Anna Taylor-Joy,
but she's a bit younger. Like they're two very different types, I think. But I can see them both. I had to envision if I could see them in the cowl.
Right.
I had to actually pull up the picture and be like, okay, let me see if I can just see just their chin. Does their chin look good in the cowl?
See, my mind with the red hair, I instantly go to Jessica Chastain or Emma Stone, but probably both of them are maybe, depending on where they put the age of Batgirl for this story, maybe on the older side. But I mean, I think they're both amazing actresses, and it would be fun to see Jessica Chastain. I mean, I know she did play the villain in an X-Men movie, I guess. I was going to say she's never been in a superhero film, but let's not count that.
We don't count that.
Yeah. Let's not count Dark Phoenix. So I would love to see her in something like this, right?
I can't remember the actress's name who was in Fate the Winx saga, but she was also on Chilling Adventures.
We're thinking of the same person.
Yeah.
Nope, it's not.
Her.
That one.
We're gonna get our researchers on that. We'll get a name. A name
Is it
for
the girl
that
who plays
person.
Bloom?
Yeah.
Abby something. Abby. Hold on, I'm gonna just look it up.
Wendy's gonna Google that.
Abigail Cohen.
Oh, okay. Awesome. All right. Well, that would be interesting. Yeah. Moving on, more DC stuff to talk about. So this week, a lot of DC animation news. So we're going to kind of take it two at a time here. But announcement that DC original animation is going to do a Injustice: Gods Among Us movie, animated film, and obviously based on the popular video game. And then we also had the news that, wait for it, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson will be the voice of Superman's best friend, canine best friend, Krypto, in the DC League of Super Pets animated film. So this is some really interesting news all around. I will just say I'm a huge fan of the Injustice video game. I love the video game. I love the movies that DC original animation makes. They've really done an amazing series. I think they've been going on almost 20 years now. Really amazing body of animated projects. And so the fact that they're doing this is awesome. I also feel like, we sort of already saw an Injustice live action movie in Zack Snyder's Justice League, because so much of the nightmare stuff was taken from this story. It's essentially a story of Joker blows up Metropolis, Lois Lane dies, and Superman goes bad. So it's not unlike what Zack was kind of going for. And we know he was taking a lot of inspiration from this video game. So interesting to see that. And then also, I think The Rock is going to own DC. That's just what we're seeing. Black Adam, and now he's going to be the voice of Krypto. I think he's a good choice. I would have liked to spread the love around a little bit more and not necessarily have one guy doing two major things in the same universe. But as we were talking before with Gemma, it's like, it's a voice and it's his live action, so it's completely different. So Wendy, let me start with you. Injustice, the movie, and voicing Krypto. What do we think?
I am all for the Injustice movie. I love the DC animation movies and shows. I think they are so well done. I am obsessed with the Flashpoint Paradox. If you haven't seen it, it is brutal. If you liked Invincible, that's something if that's up your alley, something a little bit more rated M for mature, then I think you should. It's old, so I feel like everybody would have seen it by now. But I feel like that having seen that gets me very excited for Injustice, and knowing that it's a very popular property. I can't wait to see it, because literally every single superhero, like Wonder Woman, is like savage in that game. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that's my girl. So I can't wait. And then for Krypto, why wouldn't I want Dwayne Johnson to voice Superman's best friend, Krypto? I'm trying to, this morning, I was trying to just listen to some of Dwayne's like interviews, or, trying to watch back Moana, just scenes, and trying to picture that voice with the dog. And I actually can't. So I'm very curious to see how he's going to take it. And I assume that with Krypto, it's going to be, obviously, it's not going to be super dramatic. It's going to have a little bit more of a comedy, aspect of it. So I can't wait. Is he going to put on a different voice? I don't know, but I'm intrigued.
Yeah. And also, I just want to mention, you were talking about Flashpoint Paradox, which is a great DC animated movie. They did a Arkham Knight's Suicide Squad film, and then they did just like a regular Suicide Squad. And I actually thought the Arkham Knights one was better, and I believe that's the only video game adapted movie they've made. So this will be the second.
Wow.
And like I said, that one was one of the best ones they've done. So that gives me a lot of hope for Injustice. Yael, what do you feel? How do you feel about Injustice? And is this too much rock? Is there such a thing as too much rock?
I don't think there is too much rock.
I don't think so.
I will say this. He's one of those actors who he has his voice, and that's the voice that he does. And I'm okay with that. And so I can very much see him as the voice of Krypto. I'm the opposite of Wendy. I see it. I hear it. That said, I'm waiting for the mashups that people are going to make on the internet of Maui and Krypto, because that's going to be a thing, because it is the same voice. And so that's going to be great. I'm all for, look, I love animals. I'm all for that. In terms of Injustice, I'm not a big DC animation person. So this is not for me. But from the people that I know, I've heard amazing things about the DC animation stuff. So I'm sure this is going to be fantastic.
Now, do we think down the road there'll be a Black Adam Krypto film? Like, is that something that we could be going towards? Like,
I could see a post-credit scene in Black Adam with Krypto, but that's about it. That's the closest they will get.
And I don't know that Krypto would speak in live action. He'll speak in animated, but I don't know. Or will he actually speak, or will it be sort of like we're hearing his thoughts as the Rock's voice? Like, I don't know. It's interesting. Well, there's more DC animation news this week. Announcement that we are going to get a My Adventures with Superman animated series for HBO Max. I believe it's also, they're tying it in with Cartoon Network and something like that, but it'll be available on HBO Max. Jack Quaid from The Boys will voice Superman. And then we are also getting Batman Caped Crusader. Now wait for this. The producers are J.J. Abrams, which I think also cements a little bit that J.J. is going to have a lot of control over DC TV for HBO Max. Matt Reeves makes total sense. He's directing the next Batman solo film. And Bruce Timm, who of course is the legendary animator and creator of, really all of the original DC animation stuff, from the original Batman series to the Superman series to Justice League and even Batman Beyond. So kind of exciting news with these two series. Wendy, why don't we start with you? What did you think from the little sort of stills that we saw and these announcements?
Wendy, I think you're muted.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
I think Wendy's muted.
Oh, I'm muted. I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Star. Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. Sorry, I went dead there for a second.
No, it was me.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Because I thought it was my headset. Wait a minute.
It was me. There was a helicopter flying by, so I didn't want that sound to translate, and I was like, "Oh, what's happening right now in my area?"
I thought my
peacocks
headset
this morning.
was dead.
It was me. But just a real quick recap, so I don't repeat what I have to say. Very excited for Cape Crusader. I love the people that are involved in it. I was obsessed with the Batman cartoon from, I don't know when that was. I wasn't fluent in English when I like started watching that. So I would love to actually go back and revisit that. And for the My Adventures with Superman, that one, okay, first of all, I really like the animation style there. And I love that it's kind of not just Clark being Superman, but it's the trio, these three journalists working together. And I just can't wait to see them always being mad at Clark. Like, where is he? Why is he never here? Like, you have a group project and he's like the one that's never there, but he can take the credit for like, oh yeah, I was there the whole time. I contributed, and he's like saving the world. I can't wait to see that. I think this is going to be hilarious. That one looks like a lot of fun. Definitely aimed for a little bit of a younger audience, which also is me because I feel like I'm a kid. So
yeah, the animation does look like very kind of young and hip with the Superman stuff. And then with the Batman one, I mean, it looks, not too scary, but just sort of scary enough to be legitimately Batman. And the idea that Bruce Timm, JJ, and Matt Reeves are involved is very exciting. Yael, what did you think about these announcements?
Yeah, Batman Caped Crusader, I'm so excited about this team making this show because, from what I understand, Batman the Animated Series is supposed to be like the best Batman animated series. So I'm so excited for that fandom to have another new show. It's the way I would feel if X-Men the Animated Series were able to come back. That would be great. And for My Adventures with Superman, I'm very excited about this. Like what he was saying, it feels like a fun kids show. I'm hesitant about Jack Quaid because he feels like Clark Kent. He does not feel like Superman. So I'm hesitant. But
I agree with that.
I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we don't really know what type of Superman. Is this a young Superman, kind of learning his ways? So, but I do agree with you. I think he's a good Clark Kent. We'll see how he is for Superman. And Wendy, since we lost you a little bit at the beginning of what you were saying, I want to throw you one more question. The J.J. Abrams aspect of all of this. Should we read too much into this? I mean, does this sort of tell us that he's at least shepherding DC for HBO Max?
It's funny. We talked about this on a previous episode before, I think. And at the time, we were like, oh, no, he's too busy. But look at it now. He's starting to see his name pop up a little bit more and more. And I wonder if this is just the kind of amount that he's okay with taking on. And we want to see too much more announcements afterwards, at least for a little while, so he can work on other projects that he wants. Because I just can't see, and I know he's a big fan of superhero stuff, but I just can't see someone like J.J. Abrams being tied down to one specific franchise. Granted, this franchise has so many superheroes and stories you can tell, but it's still within that superhero genre, and I feel like he just is way too creative and has too big of an imagination to be kind of be spending all of his time inside this franchise. Like he'll like dip his toe in, be like, all right, we'll do all these things. And then now I got to go do something else. My passion, my ideas, this and that original stuff. And then he'll come back later. That's what I can see. So I'm still not 100% sold that like this is maybe, him being in charge of, this aspect for DC TV shows, but watch like in like a week, we'll come back and they'll announce that he's like the new person in charge for this.
I think you bring up a great point, though, Wendy, because, like, for me, and I like his films. There are films he's directed I love. There's films he's directed that I don't love quite as much. But as a producer and really sort of a tastemaker and someone setting up projects, I mean, he's one of the best, right? Like, and every project that he's done at the beginning, we can comment on his Star Wars and Star Trek sequels, but the first ones he did are really great, or at least in my opinion. So I feel like this definitely could be a thing where he's sort of setting up Batman and then he can kind of let Bruce and Matt kind of run it, and you know what I mean, sort of setting up, sort of overseeing as a producer a lot of these projects that he may or may not have a lot of involvement in when it's all said and done. So moving on from DC, that was a lot of DC news. Let's talk about Star Wars. We had two big announcements, just kind of came over sort of the end of the week and over the weekend. The great Dave Filoni, everyone loves Dave Filoni, has been promoted. Let me get his exact title. I believe he has been promoted to executive creative director of Lucasfilm. Now, this actually happened last summer, but they didn't change the Lucasfilm website until this past week. And of course, the Star Wars nerds, we love you guys, and they caught it right away. Nothing slips by them, so they caught it right away. And then this kind of became, was sort of officially announced and kind of became news. And then the second thing we'll mention and then get to is, of course, the Star Wars Rangers of the New Republic series that was in development, seems to no longer be in development. And we all sort of, I think, have a pretty good guess of why that is, but I'll leave that up to us to talk. Well, there it is. That's exactly why. I didn't mean to do that. So let me start with you, Yael. What are your thoughts on Dave's promotion and Rangers cancellation?
I think that I'm really grateful that we found this news out like a year after it happened, because I'm a big fan of proof of concept. So like we've seen it, it's already been in place. And so it's not scary. Whereas I feel like a lot of times when someone's like, now this person is in charge and gets to make all the decisions, it can be frightening as a fan to be like, do I trust this person? As you were talking about JJ earlier, like, is this the person I want running everything? So congrats, Dave. Thanks for also giving us a year to be like, oh, I like what's happening. Oh, Dave was in charge. Okay, great. So I'm happy with that. Also, I'm okay with this cancellation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wendy, let me throw it to you. What are your thoughts?
So I think it's funny that for the report that came, it's like they're immediately like, this is a new news. I'm like, well, it's new to us. Like, right. It wasn't ever technically announced. So I don't know if it was just one of those like we should have known because of the Mandalorian and how much he was involved and all that, or they really did just like, oh, we're just going to update the website now because the Mandalorian's a smash hit and we're about to get the Book of Boba Fett. Either way, I'm really excited. I think Filoni is such a big fan, probably one of the biggest Star Wars fans out there. He knows anything and everything. You know, he has a mentor in George Lucas, and he, did a lot of really amazing things with the Star Wars animated shows, such as the Clone Wars and Rebels. So I'm very excited to see which direction he's going to take Star Wars now. And prior to all, this like announcement and this like new promotion, we've seen him just kind of dabble in, not dabble, but participate in TV and animated shows. So now are we going to see a little bit of that Filoni magic seep over to the movies? I'm excited for, and this couldn't come at a better time because we have so many shows coming up. I mean, one less now, but there's Ahsoka, there's Obi-Wan, Acolyte, Andor. I think I'm missing a ton more.
Obi-Wan? Did we say Obi-Wan?
Yeah, we said Obi-Wan. Okay. So like I'm super excited for him, and I think that's going to be a step in the right direction for Star Wars. And then as far as Ranger of the New Republic goes, it's funny. Was just talking to John Roca about this like literally last Friday, and my thought was like, he was like, oh, and this is prior to us hearing about this news break, and so it was kind of us thinking, oh, well, if they continue with Rangers of the New Republic, like they'll just have other characters to tell the story. And literally not even 30 minutes after we had this conversation, the news came out. I'm like, well, that's that then. So I guess, yeah, they were planning to have, I was going to say Cara Dune, but Gina Carano to be the lead in this show. And now that, they're not continuing to work with her, they need to either find a new direction or something. So, and I like the language in this announcement. It's canceled. It's no longer in active development. So it's not completely off the table. We could see this pop up later on. since they have so many shows that they're working on anyways, they can focus on those and then circle back to this one a little bit later.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what you're saying, Wendy, is right. But it tells me the fact that it's no longer in development is that she was she was the lead. This was going to be her series, essentially, which I didn't quite see it that way. I saw it more as, she'd be sort of the gateway to this other world. But, it's sort of interesting to me that they're just going to sort of put it on the back burner for now and not even do something with it without her involvement. I was actually surprised about that. But, like you said, we have so many Star Wars projects coming. It's not like, they canceled Obi-Wan or Ashoka or something I was really excited about. And then for Dave, I think this is a move in the right direction. We sort of talked for a while about Lucasfilm needing someone to kind of shepherd things the way Kevin Feige has. Obviously, they have Kathleen Kennedy, but someone that really sort of knows this property and knows what the fans want. And that's Dave. He's one of us. So he's got the cred to do this. So I think it's long overdue. And congratulations to him. Well, we go. Let's go straight from Star Wars, of course, to Star Wars, The Bad Batch. Episode 4 was released this week. And one of the great things, actually, about this week's episode was the first full introduction. Yes, I can see Wendy dancing already. Of Ming Na Wen's, Fennec Shan, thank you. Her character that she plays. And I actually have to say, I'll start this off. Again, a little disappointed this week. If it wasn't for Fennec, that was kind of the only interesting thing to me in this week's episode. I'm getting completely bored of Omega. I don't like when children don't obey their guardians in any television show or movie. Say, hey, wait here for a second. People are trying to kill us. Just don't move. And then you just wander. I hate that trope in anything. And unfortunately, we got that this week. I'm getting less interested in Hunter and the rest of the team and how they're working with her. And I'll be completely honest. If I wasn't watching this, Bad Batch for this podcast every week, I probably would have stopped after last week's episode. Yael, what did you think of this week's episode? I
am with you 100%. I think Ming-Na Wen is incredible, and I'm so happy that she's there. And honestly, let's leave the rest of them and go with her. Let's follow her story. That's
I'm into the series.
I'm into that.
Fennec Shan the series. Yes.
Also, it is known on the internet that I am not a fan of children. So I'm with you. I was like, this is frustrating. Especially because it was a lot of where is she? I've got her. Oh no, where is she? I've got her. Oh no. Over and over. Let her fall. You know what? Let her fall from the tower. Let's move on.
Yeah, the other thing, I like, and from last week's episode, when I said this to Wendy, I really liked, is it Crosshairs, sort of his new team and what's kind of going on with him in the Empire. And then this week it was Fennec, and it's like, isn't this supposed to be the Bad Batch? Aren't we supposed to care about Hunter and his team and Omega? And it's not working for me. Wendy, how did you feel this week?
I feel like this may be my favorite one so far. And yes, Fennec Shan absolutely 100% has to do with that. I've been waiting for her to show up because we already saw her in the trailer. I'm like, just give me the Ming-Na. Just give me her. I'm ready to see her in animation form again. Let's get down to business. I will agree. I was like, I'm gotta work that in there somehow. I feel like I am a little frustrated with Omega and the continuous running off thing. And I guess she's adventurous. I guess she's never stepped outside of those labs and she's never been away from Camino. Right. So everything is interesting. Everything is new. She's still a kid. So it's like she's going to be a little chaotic in that sense. But then I don't know how if Echo or Tag have not decided to put either a tracing bracelet on her or, those backpack with the leash. little leash on those. Yeah. So, but I think this episode, the whole losing Omega in, the on Pantora was an introduction to Fennec and how big of a role she's going to play in this series. And I have an idea of who possibly hired her to go after Omega. So she's going to continue to come after the Bad Batch. And this is all going to build up to when, Sharpshooter Fennec faces off against Sharpshooter Crosshair. I can just see the showdown happening already in my head. Like, why wouldn't they pit the two against each other for at least one episode? But I will say this show, as much as I love Star Wars animated shows, it's a slow burn. I'm being patient with it because I do like the Bad Batch. I love them when we were introduced to them. They remind me of the Ninja Turtles. Wrecker kind of embraces like the size of Raphael to me, but the mind of Michelangelo, especially when he got a little hangry in this episode. So I love that. I love seeing that little dynamic. They gave this to us in small bite-sized segments where Hunter and Echo went into town, and Echo kind of disguised himself as a droid and then had to be sewed off, and kind of wave that arm at him. And I was like, that's a middle finger if I ever saw one. So I'm ready to see a little bit more. And I wonder if they can't show us too much because it's only half an hour. Right. So maybe the runtime could be the issue. Maybe they know that they have 16 episodes, so they're just letting it build and build and build and build. And maybe the next episode, we're going to get something explosive. But I feel like I'm starting to say that before every episode. So, but now we have Fennec. So I think things are about to get a little bit more exciting.
And Wendy, maybe you could answer this for me. How far separated are we in time from Mandalorian? Is it 5 years?
I want to say this is pre-Mando.
It's definitely pre-Mando. But how long from this appearance to her first appearance in Mandalorian? What do you think, about 5 years?
Probably, because of Order 66 happened at the beginning of the Bad Batch, right?
Right.
So that sounds about right to me. So this is prior to her having met Boba Fett, having met anything. I would have liked to see a little bit. And I know it's not the Fennec show. Here I am trying to make it the Fennec show. Make it the
I got no problem with that. I
don't have a problem with that. Yeah. I don't. Especially,
I prefer it.
We would both prefer that at this point. The Fennec animated series.
Just Fennec, no kids.
Yeah.
Right.
Honestly, I was even okay with the Echo Droid stuff. That was fun.
That was fun.
I agree.
More of the rest of it that I was not a fan of.
Did this not give you some Fifth Element vibes with the chase through and the taxi and the cops chasing them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I didn't realize that till you said it, but you're absolutely right. Yeah.
I was just ready for her to show up and talk about, what is it? She's help. Oh God, I love that movie.
What would you like to see in the next episode to keep, assuming you're going to watch the next episode, what would you need to see to keep you going through the end of this first season?
I'm impatient, and that is very well documented on every show I've done. And this is moving too slow for me. We're 4 episodes in, and we've barely moved. It's too slow. I think the whole thing should have been done in bigger chunks. If we're gonna do 30-minute episodes, give me 3 at a time. It's really it is a slow burn. It's too hard to watch week to week.
Yeah. For me, I just, the Omega stuff is just bogging down the show too much. I mean, I get it. She's the the MacGuffin or whatever. I get it. She's, moving the plot along. But yeah, I would have liked to see more of the that conflict that we know is coming between Crosshair, the Empire, and the team. So if we could get a little bit more of that, Dave Filoni next week, we would love that. But we are out of time for this week. We had a lot of topics we covered. We got all through them. I want to thank you all for tuning in and remind you that we are just one of the shows that the Hollywood Critics Association has been launching this year. So we want you to make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and tune in to Pop Council every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time. We also have Horrifically Horrifying on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. with Heather Wixson and Kevin Taft. What to Stream on Thursdays at 11 a.m., hosted by Morgan Rojas. And What's Trending in Hollywood on Fridays at 11 a.m., hosted by Scott Menzel. I would like to thank Yael for being here today. Yay!
Thank you for having me.
Yael, tell everyone where they can check you out on social.
Oh, I'm everywhere at Yael Tygiel. That's YAELTYGIEL. I'm also, like I said earlier, on that hashtag shows. Have you tried not being a podcast? Queer pop culture podcast. Sundays talking about Law and Order SVU, and Wednesdays talking about superheroes on Super Lady Hero Hour. Yep. Oh, and Twitch. Also that.
Awesome. And Wendy, we did it. We got through another episode. Where can everyone check you out?
You can find me everywhere at my name at Wendy Lee Szany. You can find me on YouTube under The Movie Couple, and also on Twitch at my name, Wendy Lee Szany.
Awesome. I know nothing about Twitch, so don't look for me there, but you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Philbrick, and my name at on Facebook. Thank you all for watching. Stay nerdy, and we'll see you again next week. Bye.
And may the force be with you.
Yeah.